in a very long time.
Yeah.
This meeting to order at 7:07 PM on 10/10.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Has everyone had a chance to read the minutes from our meeting that was held on the 26th of September? Yes. Any changes? Okay, can I have a motion to approve?
I'll make a motion to approve the minutes from September 26, 2023.
Do I have a second? I'll second. All in favor? Aye.
Aye.
I'm gonna abstain just because I wasn't there.
Moving on to the acknowledgement of our visitors. Hello, Nancy.
Nancy.
We have a few folks here tonight, Madam Chair. We have Anthony Camilleri, Madeline Federo, and Nancy Caggiano.
And Anthony is from the Lynn Item, I think.
That's
Am I
right.
Remembering that?
Yes.
Yeah. Okay, great.
Hi, Anthony.
Hi, Anthony.
Hi, Madeline.
Hi, Madeline.
So moving on to community correspondence. Has anyone received any? I have none. I have none. I have not. Beth?
My children asked if I could ask for more brownies with the new superintendent. That's what I got. They did. They said, don't you have to say things that we say formally? I said, yes. And they said, could the new superintendent provide more brownies? I said, I would bring that up. 26 sunset.
You did your duty.
There we go.
That's great.
Oh, yeah.
That's cute. Would anybody out in the community like to speak? Anybody? And if not, we can move on. Moving on to the examination and authorization of payment of bills.
Thank you, Madam Chair. This meeting, the bill roll is significant. It's $610,298.10. Obviously, a lot of that is the first payment to the Swampscott Public School System directly to the town of Swampscott, paying for our 6th through 12th graders. And I sent you all an accounting of that. The payment for this year's 6th graders will be spread out in 12 equal installments of approximately $7,000 each. That has been added to the contract of with Swampscott. And the $556,145.67 payment includes the 6th graders. Because it's being paid in 12 equal installments, it's doesn't feel like a big number. Obviously, it totals out as 12 times 7. I mean, it's almost $90,000. Okay. And the rest of their payments are very, very typical psychological services, the NEC for special education students, town of Swampscott Public School for special education students, Robert Irvine and Sons, that's mechanical services. Amazon is educational materials. We have a large bill for the first payment to Seaside Pizza for our lunches. Quill is educational materials. Easter Seals is a special education student. Stop and Shop are for our lunches and breakfast. Quadient is leasing for our postage meter. And Verizon is, of course, for our phone service. And there is one bill, I believe, there's 2 bills from the National Grid. And they are very typical size bills. So, Madam Chair, with your permission, I respectfully ask a member of the school committee to make a motion to approve $610,298.10 for this meeting's bill roll.
Yes, I'll make a motion to approve the bill roll for $610,298.10 for tonight, 10/10/23 meeting.
I'll second the motion made by Ms. Lewin.
All in favor?
Aye.
Thank you.
So moving on to the superintendent report.
Thank you, Madam Chair. Tonight is the first of my 4 quarterly reports. It coincides very nicely as planned with the October 1st report. So I'll get right into it. And with your permission, Madam Chair, I will defer for the academics and professional development part of this report to the principal.
Thank you. And so I'll be happy to lead with that. In the area of academics, I'd like to report that our pilot program for Handwriting Without Tears is going well. I was able to meet with the kindergarten teachers, talk about what their approaches are. Each teacher is starting the year with a different program and then swapping as they get into it. And we'll meet throughout the year to discuss how the program interfaces with foundations. Preschools used Handwriting Without Tears for many years, as has our occupational therapy department. We used it for intervention in the past. In the area of mathematics, we're focusing our professional development on how to use iReady and iExcel to target deficient skills. And we started doing that today with our SMART goals, which you'll hear more about in my report. And we're also looking at Collins Writing. We've used Collins Writing for many years at the Johnson School. And we'll be having a speaker come and talk to us about how we can use Collins Writing program to better answer math open response questions. So we thought that would be a good focus for the school year. In the area of professional development, I outlined what we did on September 11th, which you can see here. We've discussed this in a previous meeting. Today we met and I presented on writing SMART goals, again focusing on mathematics, and teachers had the opportunity to write a second SMART goal if they chose. And then also in that time, K and 5th grade had a chance to do common planning around kindergarten buddy activities. We're planning ahead for November 1st, looking at de-escalation techniques by Mary DeGuardia, updating our standards-based report card, as I mentioned, the Collins Writing program, a little bit on Parent Square. We're realizing that they've already launched it and it's very easy to use, and so we might not need to spend too much time on it. I think part of that will be optional. And then also having common planning time for the classroom teachers on our November 1st PD day.
That's great.
Madam Chair, I also would like to just remind everyone that we made the MCAS report last meeting. And we are once again in the 79th percentile of all elementary and middle schools in the Commonwealth of Massachusetts. And our SGP for mathematics was outstanding in the mid-60 percentile range. And that's why we are focusing on math, because although our math scores were good, they were even better last time we took MCAS. So our SGP, our growth was above 50%. 50, almost 53%.
Yeah.
But we're much more comfortable with it being in the 60th percentile, so we're focusing on that. Madam Chair, moving on to personnel, which is 6A3. Due to the efforts of Mr. Andrews, we now have 4 new substitute teachers, which post-COVID is wonderful. They are Carol Hansen, Sarah Osborne, Holly Yeager, and Alfred Gonzalez. They are available at different days, but together we basically have almost 3 of them available every day. 2 definitely, and the other 2 combined for 5 days. So that brings our substitute teacher pool to 6 people, which is very healthy for a school our size. So I want to publicly thank Mr. Andrews. I get the emails and I turn them over to him and he does all the work. So
happy to do it.
And we have 1 or 2 more prospectus in applicants.
Yep.
We're getting to. I would like to announce that Jessica Martineau, our health and physical education teacher, resigned to take a position across the street from her new home, which is in central Massachusetts. Mrs. Martineau was a resident of our wonderful community for many years, as well as her children being students here. And recently there has been a move out of Nahant. Being perfectly honest with you, I had a meeting with Mrs. Martineau, and I told her she should in fact do what's best for herself and her family. When she did in fact get another job across the street from where she lives in almost in Worcester, she personally thanked me for that communication because she felt free to take the job. It would have been a hardship on her and her family, and you know, it would be nice if I could sit here and say, well, that would be an hour each way every day, but that's not what it would be.
No, it's 2 hours.
It would
So,
be-
Yeah.
I'm doing that commute tomorrow.
Yeah.
Yeah, so although you may be concerned that I was not thinking of her excellence here with our children, but I think that is part of my responsibility too as superintendent.
She's given tons to the school.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, we'll miss her.
Oh,
Definitely
you
miss her.
will certainly miss her.
Yeah, but that, of course,
Yeah.
that makes sense.
And I posted the job today and we already have an applicant, so. And then in your packet, you have the updated Johnson School staff with, it's alphabetical with all of the positions. And of course, it's inaccurate because of
Yeah.
Mrs. Martin. But that's the only inaccuracy. So then, Madam Chair, moving to 6A4, it is a spreadsheet fulfilling our obligation to keep you fully informed of the financial condition of the district. So I want to tell you what I do. Let's go to last page, bottom right. Last page, bottom right of this document says emphatically that we have 92.91% of our budget for the year expended. Please never look at that number, because $1.6 million is included in that number. So for example, let me give you what's going to happen. The next time you see that, the $559,000 payment to Swampscott that was in an unexpended column will be in an expended column, so that number will drop precipitously. And it, you know, one of you may say, holy crap, we went from 92.9% left to only blank percent.
Yeah.
So what I do is I take the Swampscott money out and I use what's left over. So instead of a $4 million budget, I look at it as about a $2.5 million budget, and then I do the math. So as of the writing of this report, we have expended about 13% of our non-Swampscott payment funds. I was thinking of taking the bus funds out too, because that's you know, over $150,000. But we pay them in 10 equal installments, so that makes sense to leave it in, because that will dwindle consistent with the reports as compared to Swampscott, where, you know, there's a whole bunch of money, then a whole bunch disappears, and the number changes dramatically. So we're in good shape. With 13% of our money left, we are about 15% through the fiscal year, particularly the school year. And the other thing that is constant in my mind is the difference between the expenditures in July and August and the expenditures September through June. They are dramatically different because we pay our NTA people and non-union school personnel, you know, on 21 payments. starting in September and ending in June.
Are there any line items that you're concerned about?
Special education this year has me concerned. Because if you remember between, and I've mentioned this to you a couple of times. Between I'd say February of last year and May of last year. The IEP meetings of several students determined that they needed a higher level of service. And that continues to be a concern. But our obligation is to provide those students with the appropriate free and appropriate public education, which we will do. I spent down the circuit breaker last year, but we will be building it up. We get quarterly payments. First one will come in November. And then we will probably apply in April for a special education augmented funding, because our increase in out of district expenditures will be greater than 1.25 of the previous year. And whenever that happens, the state has a special category that they allow funding within the fiscal year. The circuit breaker works is you apply for it in year one and you get the money quarterly in year two. The special funding for high cost students, you actually apply in April and you get the money before the end of the fiscal year, so you can pay your bills. So we will be applying for that, which will help. But it will still be something to keep our eye on. And Madam Chair, the next item in my report is the principal's report, and your permission, I'll turn it over to the principal.
Of course.
All right, thank you, Superintendent Parentozzi, Madam Chair. I'm happy to present this report, October 10th report. Quite a few things are happening at the school. We're in full speed ahead. We had a wonderful walk and roll event. We had 65% of the students walked and enrolled, and it was great to have Chief Furlong out there handing out the stickers and congratulating kids as they did that. I want to thank NEF for adding to the support for the Lego robotics program that we're going to be having in our enrichment program. That's the enrichment program starts this week. We have, last I checked, we had 45 students signed up, and so that's about half the school just about are approaching it. And we had a reminder, and so we are likely in that neighborhood right now. So we're looking forward to having that kickoff tomorrow with the activities. I've been working with the nurse, the preschool teachers, and the superintendent to communicate to preschool parents exactly what our expectations are for students coming to the school in preschool for toilet training. It's a big question that parents have, and I want to be able to say to them that we want students to be able to use the toilet independently, and of course we always recognize that students have accidents. But we want them to be on that path towards independence, if not there already. And so that's our expectation, and we work with families around what their plan is and what kind of support they need. And we'll be getting a communication out to folks just to really clarify it. Before COVID, it wasn't really that clear. Then in COVID, it was very clear. You had to be potty trained. We couldn't really work with students that closely in those conditions, and everyone met the expectation. But now we're finding that we're going back the other way. We want to get students in the right developmental point for that, and I think 3 years old is a good point to be at to do that training. So we're working together on that. So the reason I share it is because you may hear questions about it, and the letter that goes out. It's nothing too controversial, but we just want to make sure that everyone understands and is on the same page with us. I want to thank G&J Towing and Carting, as well as Donovan Construction, for installing 2 large boulders from across the street from an excavation that happened. They did that free of charge. They're not finished being installed. We have to give them a little push to get them in the right position. But it was really great value, and the students were really excited about getting on those rocks and climbing around, so it'll be fun.
That's great.
October 4th, we had a great buddies lunch. We had several students come back. Almost the whole class came back from the middle school. Had lunch together with their kindergarten buddies and planted trees. And you'll see that work on the leading corner of the school where we're doing a little micro forest out there with some small trees that one day will be tall. We hope. First and second grade had a nice trip to the Historic Society to see the exhibit by La Liberté. No, well, who's since passed, Norman La Liberté's exhibit at the Historic Society, and I want to thank the Council on Aging who provided transportation to that free of charge. So it was a great free field trip. We have a opening on Thursday night, 6 to 8 at Historic Society for the students that are going to be exhibiting their work alongside Mr. La Liberté's work. And so I'd like to invite you to attend 6 to 8 on Thursday night at the Historic Society. The PTO is going to be selling pumpkins at the Market by the Sea on Saturday. Picture Day is on the 17th. And on the 19th, I'm going to be joining Ms. Diana Brandy to conduct a talk on how you can empower children to rehabilitate their landscape. And so talking about how to start a club, how to have a multi-generational program that gets students working on their school grounds and adding diversity to it. And so this will be a statewide program. They're expecting about 400 people to be in the audience. So it's a nice opportunity for me and Ms. Brandy to celebrate the work that the students have been doing and all the staff have been doing.
Congratulations.
Thank you. Yeah, I'm really excited about it. And then our first field trip to the Northeastern University's Marine Science Center will happen on the 20th. We are not able to use the vans that they have as we have in the past. We used to use in conjunction the Northeastern's vans and our COA vans, put those together and get enough seats. But they've had a change in their insurance policy for students riding those vans. Also, the vans are being used a lot more by Northeastern itself. And we have some new paperwork that we have to do when we go to visit the university center. So we're going to get in the lab, we're going to get on the tide pools, but we just hired a bus. So we hired a bus for the day, and every student K to 5 is going to go out there.
That's great.
Yeah, and see the tide pool and then go in the lab. And this is what we did, 3 or 4 years ago.
Yes.
We started having them come back, and they will come back also throughout the year, and also come back to see the preschoolers. Preschoolers are excited just by the simplest things, so we didn't think about really wanting to put them on a van where the bathrooms are not familiar, and they're going here for 3 hours, so they're gonna come to us for the preschool programs.
So I'm sorry, Mr. Andrews, K through 5 on the 20th, is that what you said?
That's right.
Okay.
Yeah, every class goes on their own.
Yeah.
For about 45 minutes for a regular length class.
Yeah, it's great.
So they shoot up there, get on a bus, come back,
Great.
and it doesn't disrupt their whole day.
Yeah.
But they get a field trip out of it, and they get to go to a different spot, a little travel on the bus. And we might even tie it in with the bus evacuation if we have time. We'll see. I'm really happy to report Parent Square is up and running. It was a seamless transition. We haven't launched it to the parents yet. We were planning on this taking longer, as we discussed at the last meeting, but it's there. I can get on my phone and dial any parent, right off the bat from the app. We still have some training to do on it in terms of how to use newsletters, how to email documents, but it's going to be able to be used to email the report cards in November. So that'll be nice too. So stay tuned for the official launch, but it's live, which is great. I mentioned already the SMART goals work that we did today in our curriculum instruction time. We have 1 hour, every month or so on curriculum instruction. And so we put it to teachers going ahead and doing, writing their SMART goals and looking at what they wanted, how they wanted to tackle math this year. Then finally, in professional development, as I mentioned, Colin's writing, and we're working on updating the report card. So
Very nice.
that concludes my report.
Is it okay if I ask a question? Do you know if you're gonna have chaperones attend on the 20th, or are you all set with staff?
We do have enough staff members, but I welcome chaperones.
Okay.
And so you're welcome to reach out to your teacher, and ask them if you'd like to assist.
Sure,
And I think it's a good opportunity for parents to also have an idea what happens.
Yeah.
And some of the younger teachers have asked me, teachers of younger children have
okay,
asked me.
Alright.
If they could have chaperones, and that'd be fine.
yeah, thank you.
Thank you for asking.
Madam Chair, with your permission, I will get up and pass out a document to everyone. This is a combination agenda and update from the Security, Safety and Wellness Committee. I want to thank the chair for being there, representing you. We had a great meeting. What I'd like to do is focus you on eventually focus you on item number 9, because that was the result of the meeting. But before we go there, I want to say that earlier that day, we had the benefit of the NEMLAC Stars team visiting us. That was made up of Captain Matthew Freeman from Marblehead Police Department, Brian Wilson, the school resource officer from the Swampscott Police Department, Lieutenant Joseph Aliello from the Methuen Police Department, and our own police chief Tim Furlong and Sergeant Morneau. They walked the building with me for approximately an hour and a half, making lots and lots of suggestions for improving the security and safety of our building. The bottom line was that they, in their opinion, we were a very secure school, as we are right now, and will be even more so when we're done with the improvements. So number 9 expresses to you the opinion of the committee. And once again, I will make very clear that the most important opinion on prioritization belong to the experts in the field, the police themselves. So the first thing was a security film to improve the strength of the sliding window next to Ms. April's desk, which is at this point plexiglass. So I'm going to pass you this around. This is a product that will be placed on windows. It's a remarkable product. It does 2 things. Number 1, it gets glued to the glass itself, so that when someone tries to penetrate the glass for an intrusion, the glass doesn't shatter and fall out. What it does is it shatters, but this film holds it in place. Then the edge of this film is glued to the frame with an industrial strength caulking. So not only does the film prevent shattering, but it also prevents the entire piece from coming out once it's shattered. And it delays the intrusion by about 2 or 3 minutes. So I walked around with Sergeant Morneau and the representative of the company on Thursday morning, October 5th, before the committee meeting. And they made a recommendations, which I took 100% of their recommendations. The representative got back to me, and as you'll see, then in excuse me, that tour was the week before. So at the time we had the committee meeting on Thursday, the 5th, I already had the price for it. And that's the $12,396. So one of your instinctive questions is going to be, where is this film going? And I'm going to ask you to hold that question, and if you really want to know, we'll have an executive session. Okay?
Great, cool.
The second prioritized item is an improved video surveillance system, improving our connectivity with the police department, installing a camera to view the cafeteria doors, that's the exterior doors, and repairing the 1 camera we have on the east side of the building facing the primary playground. Today, I walked around with a representative of Wayne Alarm, and we have a phone call into Instant Alarm. So we are already on a path of doing that. 3 was install bollards at the main entrance and the Flash Road entrance. I spoke to someone who is in the school construction business, and I was told to go through a local contractor, so we will be contacting Raphael Construction to see the cost. At this point, I have no idea. The 4th item was to improve the safety of Flash Road side of the building with fencing, bollards, etc. So that there will be a safe path from Flash Road to the school that doesn't include walking through the parking lot. I contacted Century Fence. They are sending a representative out on Tuesday. And what we're thinking of doing is putting a fence all along the field side of the parking lot, where we attempted to put the concrete curbs, but every time there's a snowstorm, the concrete curbs get twisted, broken, spun, and there's really not a sidewalk there. So the idea that we have is to put about a 3 or 4 foot fence there that does 2 things. It improves the safety for the students on the field, and it clearly marks the walking path, which will connect the sidewalk from the Flash Road bus stop area right up until the our Flash Road entry. And I have no idea how much that's going to cost. That's still to come. We also are going to be getting a price for bollards between the main entrance, in front of the main entrance by the flagpole, and in front of the Flash Road entrance. We are going to be getting a price for number 5, provide new freshly printed flip charts. We have them, but they were printed before I came here, so they're a decade old. So we're going to review them and see what that costs. And then there's the 6th item that everyone believed was important was improved radio communication. Chief Furlong said he would be giving us some of their old police radios, which are way better than what we use. And then I will be contacting a company that they use to see how we can make them up to date if they need to be. They may be fine the way they are. I don't know. Okay. And that was all of the recommendations of the committee. And you see 2 things on that document. You see the first item is number number 7. They're the items I got from the staff and from others. Number 5, what the NEMLEC STARS team recommended, and number 9 is the prioritized list. So please feel free to send me any questions you may have.
Thank you. Thank you, it's really great.
You're very welcome. It's yeah, we should be getting there. And then you also should know, tomorrow I'm having a meeting with the director of finance for the town. She's going to assist me in the development of all the paperwork I need for the earmark grant, which is, they're asking me for things that I don't even know what they are. So
I don't envy you. I've helped put stuff like that together.
yeah. So Allison will be a great help, and she has agreed to meet with me, which is she's just amazing. The town of Nahant is so fortunate to have her. So that's my superintendent's report. I apologize for its lengthiness, but obviously very important things.
Oh, no.
So, Tony, I think, you know this building so well and have been working on security along with Kevin for so many years. I personally feel like any improvements you wanted to make this year, we should consider just because a new person may not have all of that knowledge, they will have some because, I'm sure we'll be hiring somebody who's been a superintendent. But this just is a particular place, I think, of real strength that you brought. And it would be great to capitalize on that this year.
Sure.
Yeah, so thank you for doing all this, both of you. And it's never been a more significant time for us. to
Yeah,
do this work.
I don't have to tell you, but I guess I should get it on the record for anyone down the road who sees our minutes. The vast percentage and maybe even 100% of this work will be paid for by the $50,000 earmark
Yeah.
that the fiscal 24 budget provided. And in that document I gave you, you actually have the language right out of the state budget, so you know what it's for.
Yes.
And it's fairly broad. So we want to thank our local state senator, Senator Creighton, and our local rep, Representative Capano, for supporting us in regarding the health and safety of our students and staff and visitors.
Yeah.
I think it's important, when people may have been listening to this or read about it, saying, oh my God, where's this money coming from? Well, the first $50,000 is coming from the state budget. Then if we go more than that and we have it, then I will take the school committee's direction under advisement.
Great.
We'll obviously come back to you.
Fabulous. So that's a perfect segue into the superintendent search update. So there has been some correspondence that have gone out to the parents and guardians. Thank you very much in our last school newsletter, and it'll be also going out. I would respectfully request in this week's newsletter as well. We do have some volunteers, but I'm hoping to get a little bit more participation, especially from faculty. I can't talk this either. So I will be reaching out directly to the NTA, asking for some volunteers from the faculty side of the house. And then I sent all of you last week some survey questions. And I'm wondering if anyone had a chance to read them. And if not, that's okay.
Did you,
They were good.
did Glenn help put them together? Yeah, they look
Yeah.
really good.
Yeah, so I wanted to talk about, and we can certainly table this discussion, or we can talk about it in here.
Are they in the packet? I know they're in our email.
The mounts.
No,
Yeah.
they're not.
That's fine.
But we can certainly talk about this now, we can table it, you can have a chance to read and respond to me. There is no specific timeline, but the sooner the better, because I would love to have the survey up. So let me know what you would like.
Who is the survey, who is the survey being sent?
So the survey will go to anybody in Nahant,
Okay,
and it's open to all.
okay.
I think the tricky thing is going to be, because of the way that they're worded, that, compiling the information, especially if we get a lot of, responses, it'll be time. And so do you think, will it come back to the school committee email that we?
No,
Put together,
so
or-
what Glenn was
Okay.
explaining to me is that their system will aggregate all the data.
Oh, that's amazing.
Yes, we will not be compiling the data, trust me, they're very open-ended questions, I was thinking the same thing,
I'm like a survey developer, but I'm looking at them, they're great questions, they're gonna generate a lot of great feedback, but it's just.
Very
it's-
open-ended.
It's very open.
Yes,
Yes.
and it's open-ended on purpose.
Purposefully, yeah, wonderful, okay.
Yes, so no, we're not compiling anything.
Good
There will be a report that's spit out.
Then
with
I
the
love it.
responses, And then we can take that feedback.
Great.
Great,
I think the questions are great.
yeah,
Um,
that was nice. It's a big thing.
me too.
I know, it's difficult compiling.
However, I
surveys.
don't, I did read through them briefly, but I think is the intention for us as a committee to then see what we might be missing from this list of questions, or is that like the subcommittee's intention or?
So no, the subcommittee won't be involved in the survey.
Okay, so maybe I would like to take a little bit more time, I think, because when is the hope to have this out?
Soon as possible.
Okay, but like the end of the month, in 1 month, like I.
How about comments to me by the end of the week? So
Sure.
that we can have it out. by next week.
Yeah, okay. Yeah,
Because then it starts to get very hectic because we're already
sure.
in mid-October.
yes. Yeah. Okay,
So if anyone
Thank you.
has any feedback, please feel free to email me.
Yeah, I
If
think
there-
there's, oh, sorry.
Yeah, if there are any additional questions.
Yeah.
If we want to tailor it a little differently.
Yeah, I see a lot.
is this gonna be for staff too, or just anyone in the
Everybody,
Nahant?
right?
It's
Well,
everybody in the hot.
And then all of
Yeah.
the staff that
And
works here,
staff.
okay. Anybody else?
Parents, guardians, town officials.
Right. Okay.
Yeah, I think I wanted, I do think it's a great list. I think you also like get kind of the speak now or forever culture piece in number 7, which is like, is there anything else? Anything
Yeah.
else you wanna say, right? Which is great. On number 1 about tell us the strengths of the Nahant Public Schools. I actually would ask that a little bit differently. Maybe like something about it, I wanted something else, like, what do you think are the top successes over the past X amount of years? You know, I wanna hear it, because I think it also shows you the mindset, if the themes from that question, right? Are gonna show you a lot about the mindset, and it helps get some specificity, so they might say, I think all of the sort of extracurriculars, or I think the community celebrations, or I think the hiring of certain teachers, right? Tell you something about where the school community, where the community, parents, teachers, where they sit, because you'll be able to disaggregate those by groups, because we're gonna ask people to identify what their role is in this, like where their skin is in the game. So I think that's a little bit more specific than strengths of Nahant as a community. Cause if you can name, cause I was thinking like, is it more important that people name what they think our strengths are a community, or what they truly have seen as successes, which we can infer are because of leadership in the school, especially when the school is small. Do you know what I mean?
I think
Okay. And I'm happy to also write that up in a real question to give to you. All right, if you're okay. I just want to make sure you're okay with the
This
suggestions,
is
right?
what I want,
Yeah.
feedback,
Yeah,
yes.
okay, great. I'll do that then.
Excellent. Thank you. You're very welcome. So once I get everybody's feedback. By the end of the week.
Yep.
Then I will reach out to Glenn. And we will get this survey up.
Okay.
Which is fabulous. And then we will also talk about having a focus group that everybody's welcome to in the community to.
Great.
So we're making some progress. We haven't forgotten about you.
That's all right, that's all right. Madam Chair, a question, has MASC forwarded the chair a timeline,
In terms of,
the process?
not officially yet, no,
Okay,
but I will get that.
that, I think that will help the school committee know, you know, where the
Where we are.
benchmarks are and moving forward, and that would probably be a great help. I always found it to be helpful when I hired, you know, administrators.
Oh, absolutely. The first priority was getting a search committee together, and the second was getting the survey out there.
Absolutely,
And then it's, okay, here's the timeline that we have to work with, and let's move.
right.
And is the search committee, they are the only ones that are gonna be asking, they and the folks from the Glenn Kuchar's group are gonna be asking the questions of the candidates, not us, right?
No, we will be actively involved in that process for the final candidates.
Okay,
And those final candidates, those interviews, my understanding is they're public interviews. And we'll be doing.
okay, all right.
And I'm sorry if I'm asking a question that is obvious. But where would one find, is the job posted?
No, not yet.
Okay,
This is one of the reasons why we're having this survey, is because we're going to be looking at drafting job description.
based on the input.
Oh, that
So
makes
that's sort of
sense.
what I was thinking you were leading to, but I guess. So will this timeline, I think that Mr. Parentozzi is mentioning, will help us understand, like, we should post no later than.
Exactly.
Okay, alright,
Steps.
do you see how I'm kind of backing into all of this? Okay,
Yes.
got it,
So what we're looking for are like, what are the key attributes that we need?
for our
in-
town and
for
our
town.
school and, okay, great,
Yes.
okay.
And who develops the questions for the candidate? Well, once we have candidates, who develops those questions?
That'll be a combination of MASC and the search committee.
Okay, are there gonna, so there'll definitely be some educators on the search committee.
That is the intent, yes.
Okay. Can we give them some questions that we would want them to ask candidates? Are we allowed to do that if we're not actually on the search committee?
I don't see why we would be able to.
I would have to get some clarity regarding that. I don't see why we couldn't.
Okay.
Yes,
Madam Chair, if I may, based on my experience, the simple answer to that is yes.
yeah,
The chair and the executive director of MASC probably will filter those.
Yeah.
And then create a document for the search committee. But I do want to remind you that the interview process is 2 stages. The first stage is with the committee because it's confidential. Typically,
Yeah.
candidates for positions, when it's the big group, they don't want their current employers to know that they're interested. You can't interview because you're an elected body privately.
Right,
So your round, the second round will be public. Then obviously you make up your questions for that round.
But
But
the
if
search
you
committee
want
makes
questions
that
for
cut.
the
Yes.
survey, but for the interview team, the initial interview team, that's I oftentimes done.
And there can be members of the school committee on the search. Well, we just can't have,
Yeah, 1 or 2.
right,
so 1 or 2 of us can be on that.
in addition to you,
Well, I'd like to be
only
one
one
of them.
in addition. to
that's
her.
what I thought,
That's 1, 2, 3.
Right. yeah, that's why, okay. So one more person,
Yes.
Or the chair may, in her wisdom, decide that because she's been so involved with MASC, if there are 2 school committee members who really wanted to do it, the chair could take a step back if she chose.
Yeah.
It can be any 2 members of the school committee.
Mhm.
And if there was a debate about that, then the chair would call the question in public session for a vote.
Interesting.
Yeah.
Keep going on.
Very democratic.
yes,
Very, very. So think about it, no pressure. If
Sure.
you guys want to be part of that committee.
Okay, now we're gonna have some fun.
we sure are,
We sure are.
here we go.
No, we're in 7B. So, Madam Chair, members of the committee, I did another analysis today. And I went through a lot of the policies that were in my box. And I was able to get down the number of policies that we have to review to 167 from 184.
Wow,
So it's going in the right direction.
that's like a whole meeting's worth,
And we already did 10. So we only have 157 to go.
all right,
Okay? What I did, Madam Chair, in all seriousness, I divided the policies by section and by complexity. And I have policy review and removal scheduled until the first meeting in April, which is 2024, not 25, which is, I believe, the 9th. And at that point, it'll be kind of a collection of reviewing, if you have any questions. As we go through it, there might be a policy that somebody says, gee, I really want to spend some time on that. So we'll do it that way, we'll kick it to the end. And then I left the 23rd of April blank as for a complete review, finish it. So we should be done by the end of April.
Thank you.
Thank you very much. I
You're
know
very
I
welcome.
know it's a lot of work.
Yeah. And today I had my preliminary discussion about how to actually get the documents created and posted and in usable form. And we're gonna try to go along with your process instead of waiting to the end. The only thing we're gonna wait for to the end for is the index. Because it doesn't make any sense to try to make an index until we know.
How you number?
You know, we're gonna, the first thing we have to do is obviously be finished and then number them. But one of the things that will have to happen, Madam Chair, is the forward of the current policy needs a rewriting. And I would ask the school committee to look at the forward, I'll send it to you. But it basically talks about a 2015, 16, 17 review. So we want the new version of the school committee manual to have your names, you know, you're doing all the work. And to have a 2023-24 date, obviously. Okay? So I'll send the current one to you to make it easier, and I'll send it to you in a Word so you can play with it. Okay? So 7B, policy DA, fiscal management goals. The first reading was last, I'm gonna go quickly, please stop me anytime. This document has a clarification in it, but not a dramatic one. It's really updated language. So, you know, the former one said, quote, as the trustee of a local, state, federal funds, well, you're not trustees. You know, it just cleaned up the language. The numbers are exactly the same, 1 through 5. So, with your permission, I would recommend that you approve this as written.
Make a motion to approve policy DA, fiscal management goals.
I second that motion.
All in favor?
Aye.
Moving on.
The annual budget document, DB, is once again, if you look at the document in front of you, the document that is in your policy manual is less detailed. This one gives specific items. And you are going to see a cost center language. That's a modern accounting term that basically means expenditure, not revenue. That's all it means. I looked it up on 4 different websites, and and you can look it up yourself if you wish, but cost center means you're expending monies that are produced in some other way. So obviously, we're expending money that is tax money and grant money. So you don't have to worry about that piece of the audit. The town takes care of that. I also recommend you take the note off and recommend that you approve file DB annual budget without alteration.
Do I have a motion?
Yes, I would like to make a motion to approve file DB annual budget.
I second that.
All in favor?
Aye.
File number, letter DBC. Once again, this is a clarification of language. In this one, it's actually simpler than the language that's currently in the budget, excuse me, in the manual. But again, up to date, this gives you, more. Leeway in terms of the budget process. It also recognizes the importance of the selectmen and the finance committee. And once again, a lot of these policies I've spoken to Allison Nanto, and she is in complete agreement as the town finance director. So I recommend file DBC be approved and put into your manual.
Okay, I'd like to make a motion to approve file DBC budget deadlines and schedules.
All in favor?
Aye.
Okay. Item DBD. The recommended one is the language has more detail about what a sound budget development process is. But the three numbers in terms of the details are exactly the same. It limits, the new policy limits the superintendent though, and recognizes that school councils are being consulted by the principal. So it's a little bit different. And I recommend that you approve it.
Do you have a motion?
Yep, I'd like to make a motion to approve file DBD budget planning.
Second the motion.
All in favor?
Aye.
Thank you. Item DBG. Your current policy is 2 sentences. The new policy has much more detail. Obviously, the legal reference has been brought up to date, and it also references the town charter. And the new policy manual will have more cross references. For example, the new one will reference DBJ, which we're also revising. So I recommend you approve it.
I'll make a motion to recommend file DBG budget adoption procedures
Do you have a second?
For approval.
for approval. Yeah.
I second that.
All in favor?
Aye.
And the last one for our second reading is, as I predicted, DBJ, Budget Authority Transfer. This basically puts into policy what we do. So, you know, I recommend for you to vote transfers of line item budget, line item funds at the end of the year to balance the fund lines. And that's basically what this says. It also says that you are to be kept abreast of the need for adjustments and also for the situation of the finances, which you know, we've always been very good at doing. Now it's putting it into policy.
Okay. I'd like to make a motion to approve file DBJ budget transfer authority.
I'll second the motion.
All in favor?
Aye.
Okay. So what
So I think we've concluded the whole business.
Right,
And
new business.
we are on new business.
So in your packet, you have a bunch of stuff about busing.
Yeah.
By the way, today I sent out the new bus schedule for the Swampscott students who live in Nahant, telling them that there's no late buses on early dismissal days. That was a long process involved with both principals, the principal of the high school, Swampscott High School, and the principal of the middle school. Initially, the middle school didn't want late buses on early dismissal day. The high school principal did. We tested it. Nobody rode the bus, so we canceled it. So what I did, if you see the Healy bus letter, which is in your packet. I negotiated with Mark Healy and I said, look, you're actually going to have fewer bus trips because you're not going to be providing late buses on half days. And so initially he wanted over $3,000 for the new late bus schedule on full days, which is later. Because if you remember, I told you that we had late buses that didn't make any sense. They were either too late or too early, so we corrected that. And he picked up an hour extra salary time for each bus driver of a late bus. Because they're
There's
not,
only one late bus, right? So you're saying. Cause they think. Is there only one late bus? There's only one late bus.
well, that's the issue. It's gonna be 3:30 at the middle school and 4 o'clock at the high school.
But they don't leave the middle school and then go to the high school.
I
and
don't
go
believe
home?
they do.
Okay.
That wouldn't make sense, they would.
I don't believe so.
Separate buses, okay.
So I have agreed to present to you an increase in $2,464, which takes two things into consideration. One, it takes into consideration of less cost because there's no late bus on the 11 half days. And then more cost because he's paying a school bus driver an hour extra per day. And you actually don't have to approve this because I'm
Okay.
gonna put it on a bill roll. Once you tell me go for it, I'll create an amendment to our contract and he'll send me an invoice. Actually, I already have the invoice, but I have to create the amendment to the contract.
So this is for a late bus for 3:30 for the middle school, 4 o'clock for the high school, two separate buses on days that they have a full day of school,
The
not
only,
the half.
the only exception I would make to that is I'm not sure it's two separate buses,
I don't- if
but
you
it's
calculate
definitely
it,
later.
Yeah.
It's later,
Right, on the days that they have a full day of school,
correct.
okay.
I think it must be the same bus because it's calculated to be only
One driver.
One driver's extra time.
'Cause it says
I'm
fifty
not sure
drivers
because
time.
we have the 3:30 bus already in our contract.
Oh, so it might be adding the one
Yeah.
extra bus?
Yeah,
Oh, that.
Okay.
but again, the important thing for you to think about in terms of the money is the high school students will have a bus that's convenient for them.
That
So-
makes sense.
And
And the
then
middle
the
school.
middle school will have. Okay,
So do you need
nope,
No?
no,
Okay.
I'll present this to you.
Great,
I mean, I'm gonna go with it.
yes.
Okay,
Yes, yeah.
all right. Thank you. And then there's a whole bunch of backup about buses.
Yeah.
And also about authorizing me to transfer money, just so you have it. That's what you vote every late spring, to authorize the superintendent to sign the invoices and things. And then in the first meeting after you come back together in August, I always put it all before you so you see what's happened. It's just in there so you have it, because that's what the three of the policies were about that you changed. Okay. The October 1st report is in front of you. There's two documents. One is the current year. It has 149 students. And if you look back, the kindergarten through 5th grade, other than the 5th grade, is pretty consistent. If you look back, I put 4 years on the other sheet for you. So if you look, we have 149. Now, obviously, we have a large number of preschool students. But if you look back, that was also the case in 2019, 2021, and 2022. So
Well, we had a 6th grade too then, and now.
that's right.
So the.
So we have one fewer grade and basically the same number of students, so we're theoretically growing.
Yes,
And if you.
look at those years, there's
If you
only
draw-
one class per year for every grade.
And if you draw a diagonal line across, it
Right.
tells you. For each grade, their trajectory.
Yes,
I'm sorry that I feel like I have to ask this all the time. How many students? for definitely splitting into two, it's 25? or
Oh, there's
less?
not a number.
There's not a
Alright.
number.
Okay.
I think that's why we forget.
No, okay, right, I guess I'm thinking next year. The current third grade class will be in fourth grade, and that tends to be a year that sometimes people choose other things, and their number right now is 27. So it'll be interesting to see if we have two fourth grades next year.
If the school committee has an opinion on that. I'm gonna be building the budget starting in December. Well, you might say,
We might.
let me suggest something. In order to maintain our current numbers in third grade, as the students move to fourth grade in the 2024-25 school year. School committee would like the superintendent to seriously consider keeping two classes. I made that up.
Because you are worried that people will hear that there might be a combination of classes if the numbers dip, and then it becomes a mass exodus,
Exactly.
which I feel like sometimes happens.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's true.
It does
I
happen.
think that is a good point, though. Could we continue this conversation?
Absolutely.
Yeah.
I-
Not this minute, I mean.
No, I
Because the other
think
thing
it's,
to watch though is grade two, you know. And so if we
Right.
continue two classes. I mean, we've done this before, I know, like we can make this work, but like the grade two is significantly smaller. Going into grade three and then four, you know, which doesn't preclude people coming in, but it's
Yeah.
but it's just something to watch. And it completely backs up our desire to encourage you know, more places where we can do some blending, really, you know, smart and thoughtful about that.
I think it's an excellent point. And obviously, you are the fiscal managers of the school district, so if that is your wish in the budget. You just collectively need to put it on the table, take a vote.
I
and-
think it's a good point that you bring up, though, because it is a
Yeah.
question about numbers, and it sounds like it's not very clear. So that is a really good question.
Right, no, and I understand that, but I don't know that we could necessarily make that decision. It's like the chicken or the egg. You know, I don't want people to leave because they're worried that the classes are gonna be combined if it dips below 24. But on the flip side, let's say 7 students leave, to have a class of 10 and 10 doesn't make any sense.
Exactly, yes.
So I think maybe even sharing the message that there's not a definitive number
I agree,
is a good
yeah,
potential message to share,
right,
and that it's a ongoing conversation. And
Right.
I don't want people to start leaving because they're worried that if it gets down to, I think historically, there's been like 24 or 25 as the number.
but we're gonna be
Maybe in the,
flexible.
maybe in the opposite direction, like if the number went up to this amount, we would consider splitting into 2 separate classes.
And I
feel
think,
like this prior classes that were like almost big enough. But you know, if we share with the school, with the class, if people are asking, you know, if there's not a definite number and it depends. Maybe it'll help keep people here, hopefully.
Yeah, no, I think it's a good point.
I think you saying, like, I think these words, like, we're gonna consider there are no fixed numbers in this, because. And also, there were a number of factors that we took into account last year, it wasn't just size. We took gender into account, for example, we took, we definitely took, and when we're talking about 5 and 7 kids, that's different than talking about 20 kids, right?
Right,
And so-
15, 16, yeah.
Yes, and so we, whether we're talking about what to do about a small 6th grade, or whether we're talking about what to do about a large 3rd grade. I think what's coming out of that is that we're gonna take the needs of the classes and the kids into consideration each time, knowing that there may be different things going on for both the school and the class and the kids. To make that decision, I think is important for parents to know.
Yeah.
I mean, Madam Chair, if I may,
Of course.
in that last discussion, I think using my terminology. The educational needs of the individual students in each grade are a major factor when determining when there's a decision to be made, what the recommendation would be. Because we're an educational institution, I know we want to keep parents here. That's obvious, we want to maximize the enrollment of our school, it's a fabulous school, and we want as many students as humanly possible to have the advantage of going here. But if the specific students in a particular group of class, and we have two sections, and if they are high need students who need
Right.
support, we're not gonna make it one class. That would be silly. That would be a formula for
Who's that?
not supporting students, and that's what we want.
And we already talked about Swampscott tuition.
Yes.
And when we.
Back to policies.
Back to policies.
Back to policies.
So, Madam Chair, 8D, policy BDFA, school councils. This is a new policy that takes into account the added importance of school councils. And
So this new policy, is it something that is a recommended policy from the state?
every policy that you see before you, going back 2 meetings, is a recommendation of the legal department of MASC. I assure you, I did not write these.
You did, you
I-
did a great
I have-
job.
I have enough trouble keeping them straight. So what this policy does is it is a new policy with a new determination that will take into account the new state laws, new language, give some direction to school councils on your behalf. For example, one of the policy statements says, quote, "School council shall use consensus as the primary method to resolve issues and to formulate recommendation. Votes by majority may be taken at the discretion of the principal and Robert's Rules of Order." So it's trying to prevent some arguments at school council meetings. Obviously, that's new. So
So if it's new policy, what's the BDFA that's in the packet for removal?
what is it?
Yes.
It's a policy that would covers school councils, but not in the same manner.
Okay.
So you're gonna see three things in this revision. You're gonna see one policy become two. You're gonna see 2 or 3 policies become one. You're gonna see, and then you're gonna see some brand new policies that are really new. Electronic communication, there's a whole bunch of new ones. And then you're gonna see some that are in your book that are gonna be recommended to be taken out because the new policies take their place. So it's one of those.
And just for my information, I'll ask it once. But if you look at the one that we're removing and then the new one, there's obviously edits, so how does it be determined that we're removing one and putting in a new one versus editing and updating the existing policy?
The attorneys at MASC made that determination.
Whatever.
It's a good question.
It is a good question.
It looks larger now than it did before, and the
Yes,
same for
but I
the
don't
books
know.
are there, so
I
I,
don't
yeah.
know why it's not just considered. an edit.
Right, I'm with
Alright,
you,
whatever.
Sometimes it's considered an edit and sometimes it's not.
Considered new.
yeah.
The big bosses tell us that
Right.
way.
Yeah.
It's fair enough.
It's legally.
Yeah, and I constantly, obviously, I spent a lot of time on this and I've done a lot of reading as my need for new glasses will attest to. But, I constantly remind myself, if an attorney has revised this and recommended it, and I change something,
It's
What am I
no
doing?
longer- Yeah, yeah.
then in all actuality, before I ask you to vote on it, I should return it to
Attorney.
MASC's attorney and then two things. One, it's gonna take forever, and two, they're going to charge us a fee for that.
Yeah, and that's the over our policy.
Yeah, exactly.
So the BDFA and the BDFA E are for first reading tonight.
Correct.
And then we're removing the old BDFA and BDFA E1. BDFA E2 and BDFA E3. Oh, so it's being combined, it's being combined to some degree.
Yes.
So the policies for removal, is that also just a first consideration, or can we do F tonight?
I was gonna ask you what you wanted to do. I showed you this because this is the first one that got complex like this. I have this big chart in my office folded up. And I have all the policies that have to be removed. And all the policies that have to be revised or voted, the new ones. So we can do the removal any way you want. I think I recommend, how's that for a sentence? I think it'd be easier if we waited till the end and removed them all together
Like at the end, like in April,
in April.
So you're gonna have those.
you're gonna keep track of that?
I am,
Yeah.
I already have the list. I already have all of these removals on my chart that have to be removed. It's probably gonna be easier for me not to have to keep it up to date
Sure.
every
Then just
meeting.
do it at every,
But I did want you to see this,
Yes, yes.
because I thought it was
Yeah.
important.
Okay, so should we make a motion?
No,
Saying we're
these
voting
are
on
first
everything.
reading.
So,
Oh, right.
so,
I got
so just for
excited.
the minutes, so I'm putting first reading on the new policies or the amended policies. But F, which is for removal, I'm not obviously putting first reading. because
No.
We're not, or first consideration or anything.
No, I would say
Yeah,
for,
we review
if
that.
you wanna put something for consideration,
Okay.
okay?
Yeah.
Okay. You're gonna love this. 8G, the Supreme Court of the Commonwealth of Massachusetts has determined that you cannot prevent someone from using obscenities during their public comment. So 8G is the same as your policy currently. Except that it would say updated 2003, which they all will say when we're done. And if you notice, the word obscenity is crossed out.
I heard
Oh,
about
I
this on
looked at the
NPR, I'm not surprised by this, because they were talking about this on NPR.
Yeah, what town was this? that
It
had
was
it?
for Boston.
Yeah,
Yeah.
of course it was.
Sorry, can you say that again?
Sure,
We're just.
it's labeled 8G.
Oh.
and
Got it.
Policy BEDH.
Yeah.
And the difference between this and your old one is
Obscenity.
the word obscenity is
Yes,
crossed out.
okay, thank you.
Yes, it was a whole
Uh,
different case, yeah.
this is-
About this.
This, yeah,
Not Boston, but in Massachusetts.
Yes.
this is one,
Oh,
the
what
next one,
about
8H.
Uh-huh.
I'm gonna keep going unless you tell me to slow down.
No,
Keep going.
Okay. Item 8H, policy CHA/CHC is a new policy. And in this one, CHA and CHC are going to be removed ultimately. So what they did is they took two policies, which are in your packet labeled removed under 8I, and they made it one policy. There must be a legal reason, because it makes no sense.
And I'm just gonna update it in the minutes that it's development of regulations and regulations dissemination.
Yes. So the development of regulations and the regulations of dissemination are becoming the development and dissemination of procedures.
Okay,
And if you note, it takes the responsibility off the superintendent's shoulders, which is the only time in my entire long career I've ever seen that happen. So I'm happy. Okay. File DD, which is agenda item 8J. I have both of the current ones and the new one. And for some reason, PL 874 impact aid and Board of Education 603 CMR 3234 have been removed. And the only thing surviving is the Mass General Law. And they have made it the language more current. And it takes the authorization of the superintendent to sign all reports for projects off the table. So that's not a policy anymore. Doesn't mean you can't do it, it's just not a policy. Agenda item 8K is a new policy. DEC. It simply makes a policy which federal law requires. You cannot take federal money and spend it on something that you are currently spending or in the past have spent local money. Give me a concrete example. You have been paying me to be your superintendent. You can't use federal grant money under any circumstances to pay my salary. This just makes it a policy. You could never do it.
yeah,
You never did it.
Yeah.
Now it's a policy. Okay. Item 8L. Which is DGA. Is authorized signatures. The current one. It changes the language from town to municipal. It also enables the school committee not to have to sign payrolls, which you never did. Evidently, it was a policy. I mean, I've been the superintendent for a quarter of a century. I've never heard of payrolls being signed by the school committee. So they probably just caught up with reality,
right,
okay? And then the note comes off.
Yeah.
That's DGA, which is a new policy. Item 8M. The current one is bonded. The big change is in this one, which is no change at all for us. It says the municipality will pay the cost of bonding. Our municipality always has. 8N, policy DI, fiscal accounting and reporting. It basically says that you will follow MGL 4438 in addition to CMR. And that I will give you periodic reporting. The language has been updated, it's different, but it doesn't, you know, the old language said the school committee will receive at least quarterly, this one says periodic. Which basically, to me, means that if you're not getting along with your superintendent and you wanted a monthly, the superintendent could say, well, your own policy says quarterly, and refuse to give, you know, we're not. A lot of this stuff is being changed because of some of the conflict between school committees and superintendents. Okay. DI, which is N, the new one is in your packet. 8O, audits. This is much more detailed than the new one. if you note, the current policy is 2 sentences. This one has a lot of detail. You probably have read in the paper, there have been some fiscal issues in school committees, school districts with spending, budgets being overspent. Obviously, I work very closely with the town finance director. But this gives much more direction to the superintendent about audits. The interesting thing is that even though the superintendent in every school district I've ever been has been actively involved in audits, the superintendent has no authority nor responsibility for audits. Really interesting to me. I always thought I did until I read the policy. It's you as school committee and the municipality. The reason I thought I did is because my first superintendency in the Commonwealth is a regional, and in a regional, the superintendent is responsible. So this just clarifies it. Once again, I recommend you take the note off.
So when does the audit usually commence?
You just signed the document.
Yes, I did, didn't I?
Yeah. So it was just submitted. Then the state will audit our pick books. Then in the spring, the town auditor, as part of the town audit of the entire expenditures of the town, will also audit our books. And we haven't had any exceptions. If there were an exception, which is an audit word for mistake, then I'd have to bring it to you. You'd have to supervise our correction of it, but we haven't had any since I've been here.
The final audit report.
It's on late. The 2021 final audit report is on file at Town Hall. And it is a public document for anyone.
I read my share of audit reports. I guess I should read that.
Okay,
Super fun.
all right, that's audits. Item 8P. Policy purchasing. This is one I brought to you before. And I have. I want to make sure I'm giving it to you at the right time. I apologize for the delay. No, I'm not. Okay, so AP basically is updating the purchasing. If you notice, this one is also much more detailed than the current. And the superintendent will designate the district's purchasing agent. He designated himself, since there is no one else. And of course, the document I'll show you later is the document that Alex and I follow in terms of purchasing. Item 8Q is purchasing authority. Once again, a little bit more detail. And not much of a change. It also adds documents, excuse me, it adds a provision of Mass General Law that is new about contracts. That the municipal authority can't enter into long-term contracts without voting authority at town hall. Excuse me, a town meeting, I apologize. My guess is mayors, town managers are signing 10-year contracts. They would leave, and then the town and the city would be stuck with a monster contract. 8R is about bidding requirements.
So is the new policy document named procurement requirements? Because on the new DJE, it says procurement requirements. Is it being renamed?
Yes. Yep,
So it's technical. So see, this is what I mean, like, they're not like removing bidding requirements and putting in, they're editing it, but they're updating the name.
that's right.
Right, yeah.
So I can put procurement requirements first reading, formerly bidding requirements.
Yes.
Okay.
And then this is the one that Allison reviewed. This is the one that establishes these guidelines.
Oh, yeah, the 50,000, yeah.
These are new guidelines. I talked to you about this.
Yeah.
Mm,
In the
Can't remember
spring,
when.
there was
You
something in
need
the,
this.
when we were talking
Please
about,
memorize that and have it on my desk.
when we were talking about the roof. I think
Yes.
it came up, yeah.
So Mass General Law has extended to $50,000 the requirement for a full bidding contract. It used to be $25,000. I brought that to you and you said, leave it at 25, and I said I was fine with that. Allison says she's comfortable with it being 50. So this is the new. What you have in your packet under new is the $50,000 bidding requirement threshold. If you want to drop it to 25. That's up to you. You can think about it and we'll talk about it when you go to finally vote on it, all right?
Sounds good.
But this document will tell you exactly how we proceed with all procurements over $10,000.
And so the new document shows for any supplier service over $50,000, which is an increase from before, which was $25,000. So if we just want to vote next time on agreeing to what the new one is, then it would be what Allison was also in agreement with.
Yes.
Okay.
But if you want to keep it at 25, that's your authority. The only thing you're gonna have to do is you're gonna have to make sure the next superintendent is aware of it,
Right.
because it's not the
Got it.
law.
Okay,
It would be more stringent, which is totally your. And I have a note after speaking with Allison. Okay with Allison?
yeah, exactly.
Okay. 8X. DK. Payment procedures. A little bit different. Same references. Now, interestingly, this requires me to give you monthly list of bills, a warrant for payment from school department funds. We don't do that. We do it at every meeting.
Yeah.
I don't think you need a policy to state what you're doing if you're doing more than your policy requires.
So it's like at a minimum monthly, but we do it
Yeah,
twice a month.
The only thing I think about is in summer. When, like, for the example, this summer we went longer than a month.
Yep.
But it was within each month, like it was early in July and then late in August, do you remember?
Mhm.
So it was within the month of July and within the month of August,
that's correct.
so that would still meet the policy
You also take a vote,
to allow you
which
to.
is in the packet,
Yeah, for.
to amend your policy
Oh,
on an annual see, you can change your policy by a member of the school committee can make a motion to amend the policy without having to go through the 2 steps. Short term. Like you do when you amend your policy for your agenda items, where you want to take something out of agenda. You don't have to say, I want to change the agenda next meeting, and you have a first reading, second reading. A member of the school committee makes the motion, the chair recognizes it, you vote it, and you say, okay, we're gonna have public speaking earlier this meeting. You can do the same thing with any of your policies. which is what you do with the monthly list of bills. Although you are correct, if we have a meeting in July and you have a meeting in August,
It's monthly.
it's monthly,
Yeah.
it just happens to be 6 or 7 weeks
Yeah.
between them, and I'm paying bills.
Yes.
Okay.
But we don't have to not have this policy just because we do it more often.
Nope. That's what I'm saying.
That's what he was saying, yeah.
I'm saying
Yeah.
that if you do it at least monthly,
We're doing
Yeah.
policy.
Which we are, except that one,
Yeah.
We are.
some, yeah,
But it's still-
But it
Right.
averages out. to
Yeah,
about
right.
Way more.
Yeah.
Yeah.
monthly.
okay.
okay. And we're real careful with money. That's the other thing. So, and the last one is 8T, which is expense reimbursements. And this one, basically is about you. It's, the big paragraph is about school committee members who travel, how you get your money back. Personally owned vehicles. I've never paid a penny for anybody in the district for their personally owned vehicles. Other than parents who transport their students out of district for educational services, and then we pay them the state mileage.
I thought that this was also referencing like how sometimes in our bill roll, if somebody did training, we reimburse them. Isn't that also this? Yeah.
Yeah, that's the first paragraph. That hasn't changed. That's exactly the same. And let me tell you, the town of Nahant is all over it. Let me give you a concrete example. Tony Parentazzi spent $250 for a registration to, for the one conference he goes to all year. And he couldn't get paid until his credit card receipt showed that the credit card bill was paid.
Oh, wow. Wow,
And that's what we do.
okay.
So you can charge it, show me the charge until you, and the funny thing is when people show me their charges, it's a sheet of paper with everything crossed out except one thing,
Oh, yeah.
Yeah,
because I don't wanna know anything
no,
else.
yeah.
So Madam Chair, that is the first reading of those policies.
Got it.
Thank you, Tony.
Thank you, thank you, Gina, for discussing.
Yes, thank you,
copious
Gina.
notes.
I know.
What I think we really missed the mark on is that we should have put out a public service announcement for anybody in the community with insomnia to tune in.
Sorry, since a huge night. Yeah, cracking jokes left and right here.
Okay, so moving on to other committee business.
The only thing I wanted to bring up, and maybe, I'll try and be more on top of what's on the agenda, is that we were gonna get, on October 10th, we were gonna get an update from the teachers and administration on the blended learning model and how things are going. So maybe if it's okay with you, Patty, if we add it, because on October 24th, we were gonna talk about long-term planning, but since we sort of sidebarred that for not being a primary goal of this year, if we could get some feedback from the
How blended learning is
administration
going.
and staff on how blended learning is going,
Mhm.
and then we can put it on the agenda.
Yeah.
Yeah, just so we can put it on the agenda, that way, we wanna be really, transparent and have it on the agenda. So that we're following policy and we can talk about it, but also so that parents that are interested
Yeah.
to hear an update can be on the
Yeah.
call. Do you
Thank
think that would be
you.
okay? then?
Yeah, we're
No,
trying
thank you
to
for
like,
keeping,
I'm
on
keeping it
track
every
of that.
meeting, I'm like,
Is there anything else on that? Because there were like
For
3 or
the
4
20
items.
Yeah, for the 24th, it's long-term planning, like budgetary consideration, which I think isn't gonna be our goal. But just like thinking backwards, our final decision that we have to get to Swampscott is absolutely no later than January 9th is what we decided. So 3 months from today, which I know it still feels like a while, but it'll
it's
come
not
up
with the
so
holidays
fast.
and stuff, it's.
So, and we talked about potentially even deciding before the
Yeah,
new
that's like
year,
the
if it
latest.
was very clear what we're gonna do. So, it'd be great to get some feedback.
Sure.
And if it,
Pictures.
yeah,
And if, would you like to copy this if you were? I have one. Oh, okay.
Thank you.
And I would almost go so far as to knowing that it's on the agenda, you know. At the beginning of the meeting, if people are tuning in and wanted to, at the beginning of the meeting, give some feedback.
Yeah, we can move that to the top of the.
Or they could give us feedback and then, you know, later on in the agenda, we could talk about the feedback from, you know, the staff and administration, either way, but. It'd be nice. Because we had talked at the last meeting about like getting feedback from parents.
Yes.
We should definitely have that with all these policies at the top of the agenda.
Yeah, nobody wants to talk about that. Be like, okay. I mean, is that technically old business?
Yes,
I think so. We could put it in old business before we start second readings of policy.
Or even old business at the very top.
Yeah,
Before we even
exactly.
begin the final reading of policy.
Yeah.
to these.
Yeah. Do you want me to send this to Chris?
Hmm?
Do you want me to send that timeline document to Chris?
is that the same one you sent?
Yes.
Have you amended it?
The
Yeah.
only.
I don't think
No,
so.
I don't
No,
think so.
it's
Why don't
the
you
original.
send that to me and that'll be the backup, that'll be in the agenda. Excuse me, in the packet,
Mhm.
that
Oh, yeah,
document,
that would be very.
I'll put it right in.
So moving on to other committee business, I'm wondering if we can move our next school committee, meeting, or would that be too?
I'm fine with that.
you
So,
know, I
Meeting
know
the
it's-
24th?
The 24th.
to when are you thinking?
Madam Chair, could I ask respectfully ask, where are you moving it to? I mean, I don't wanna go to Chicago. It's cold.
Chicago. No, I'm just wondering, I mean, would this, definitely Halloween wouldn't work, would the 17th work next week, or is that too soon for us to meet again?
So not do the 24th, but do another Tuesday, like next Tuesday?
Or is that too soon, or?
Are
Could
you-
we do the?
Are you unable to make the 24th?
It's a. I'm having a work thing. If I can make it, I can make it, if I can't, I can't. Or the 26th, do we have?
I don't, but I.
I throw everybody off.
Yeah, Susanna teaches on Thursday night, starting that day.
I can't do the 26th. I'll be out of state,
Would
but I
Monday
can
the
do the
20th,
17th.
with the 23rd work? Or you'll be out of state,
I'll be out of state on the 26th. The 17th I can do.
the 23rd, Monday?
I think the 23rd.
Could you do the 23rd?
Mhm.
Tony?
Did you do the 23rd? Tony did. Oh, did you guys do it?
I think I could,
It's the day before.
and do we have to meet twice? I'm just asking the question, like, do we have to meet? Okay, I'm just wanted to ask, because it does seem very.
Very well explained team.
Yeah, we are.
We are,
Um,
with all those policies, we are.
I think I could do the 23rd, I should be able to.
I'm not sure.
And if you can't, you can't. Then you know what, it's a.
Madam
not-
Chair,
it's not-
unfortunately, I have a grand opening of the high school on the 23rd, but I'm not sure it's the 23rd. I'll find out tomorrow morning.
No big.
I could probably also do next Tuesday if that is like better. If for some reason Tony can't do it the 23rd and like you really can't do the 24th, like I think I can come next Tuesday.
Could you?
Next Tuesday, I can't. The 17th, no.
Do you wanna ask Michelle to? Or once we hear from Tony?
I don't know that we can talk about it, and because we have to vote on moving
Moving
a
it.
meeting,
Oh, okay.
so I don't think we can talk about it outside of the meeting.
No, I wasn't sure if Patty would ask Michelle. But okay, yeah, we have to vote on that.
And
Yeah.
Gina, the thought of like doing a longer meeting on the seventh is. You're just thinking of all these policies being voted in, plus the superintendent search business,
Yeah, and
you want. Yeah, okay.
okay.
Well, the good news is if we did it,
Not to meet in October. Just-
That's what I'm
Second
wondering.
time in October.
Just meet on the, our next
Seventh.
meeting would be the seventh.
Seventh after the 24th.
is that election day soon?
It is election day.
I was just throwing it out there only because it seemed like if we do next week, that just seems so soon, but it sounds like next week is likely a no, and the 23rd is most likely a
Yeah, I mean, if the
possibility.
23rd works, then I think that's not a big change. But if it doesn't, I don't know what we would do other than just wait until the next meeting.
Michelle could run the meeting.
Sure. Yeah, or I could skip dinner, it's not a big. I'm just throwing it.
Oh, I see. Okay.
Oh, Tony, why don't you
We're
let
gonna have to
us,
decide now.
so Tony's gonna let us know.
Why don't we do the 23rd and? I'll do the 23rd.
But if you have
What
some
about
place
high
you have to
school?
be with the high school, I don't want to take you away from anything that it is that you have to do because of something that I like to go to. You know, it's not a
My
big
guess
deal.
is it's gonna be before 7 PM. Anyway,
Well, why don't we just try?
Where is this
Why
high
don't we
school?
just try to stick to the
Summer.
24th and then? I don't know.
it's the grand opening of the phase 3 of the high school, but
Oh, how exciting.
Oh my god, are they naming it?
I'm just saying, that's like amazing.
That would be.
no.
Then you have to-
I'm
yes.
positive it's going to be earlier. I was just thinking as you all were talking, it's not gonna be after dark.
They're opening, most likely not. I think so.
Right.
Hard to see that.
It's phase 3, which is a field and a bunch of junk in the back. I mean, the high school's been open for 2 years. So let's do the 23rd.
23rd? Be sure, guys.
I think so.
I know I can make that.
I can,
We should
Yes.
definitely advertise it well. That
Oh,
it's being moved.
Completely
Yeah.
agree.
oh yeah.
Like maybe even on the, just in the interest of transparency, because we're gonna be talking about the blended learning, it doesn't wanna seem like we're hiding a meeting, right?
Yeah.
So maybe we could even put like a quick one-liner update in the,
I could send an email to fourth if it's great parents, so
yeah, that'd be great.
Oh, that would be good.
that's what we're talking
I
about.
think so.
That's a great idea.
Yeah, why don't you ask the chair to review the statement before we send it?
Certainly.
Thank you.
That sounds good. And thank you, everybody, for being accommodating.
Sure. So I'll make a motion to move the next school committee meeting to Monday, October 23rd.
I second that motion.
All in favor?
Aye. Okay,
We have a lot to talk about.
we do, but I do think that that's good that we meet, have the update, do all the other policies and then no, because it won't be much longer in November if we wait, I think. I did second. Great,
Yes, and then, are there any announcements?
I don't have any.
Can I have a motion to adjourn?
I'd like to make a motion to adjourn this meeting at 8:55 PM.
All in favor?
Aye. Look at us.
Before 9 o'clock,
Okay.
you know,
Nice.
remember the last time that happened.
Thank you. Thanks, everybody.
Thank you, everyone.
It's just Gina.
Okay.
And they were on it.
They were on. They were on.
All right, great. That was very productive.